All right. A good day to you all, our farmers, and thank you for joining this profitable small-scale sugar bean production masterclass. My name is Rollins, your host, and I am with Agribusiness Media. And I do hope that you will benefit from this webinar. I also hope that you are staying safe, practicing social distancing, sanitizing, and masking up. We are live on the Agribusiness Media Facebook page. So how this masterclass is going to unfold is we are going to have great presentations from experts in the business of agriculture and then go into a question and answer session thereafter. You can then use the chat feature on Zoom for comments and questions, or you can use the comment section if you are watching on Facebook. The ultimate gist of this masterclass, or the reason why we are hosting this masterclass, is to share more information about sugar bean production. You know, sugar bean is a very lucrative business, as you will see in this webinar, and this is also the right time to plant, or we are right in the season to plant sugar bean. And in line with that, today we are joined by Wendy Madzura from SeedCo, Junior Manduna from the Agricultural Marketing Authority, and Tapiwa Chitendera from Fossil Agro. So no doubt that we have the right experts for the webinar. And I'm sure you have done your system check and you can hear us clearly. And if you are not presenting, we kindly ask you to please turn off your video and audio. We'll also try to control that from this end. So maybe you're already asking how you can start, what is required. So without wasting time, let's go straight into our first presentation on planting, the good agronomic practices, and also the economics of production. So we invite Wendy Madzura to help us understand more on this. Wendy, please go for it.
Thank you so much. Let me see if I can share my screen. Okay. So sugar bean is a profitable crop in season. It's always important for a farmer to establish which crop is really in line with the season, particularly looking at those farmers who are going to be doing dry land or those farmers with limited irrigation. So you need to make sure that you're growing a crop that's going to grow well in the time that you're going to grow it, in terms of the irrigation potential that you have, the water that is available, as well as the potential of that crop to grow well in that environment, be it the heat units or the temperatures that exist. So the layout of the presentation is as follows. We'll start off by looking at the essential elements in agriculture. We'll then move on to look at crop selection, why sugar bean per se. Then we'll look at sugar bean, the profit story of sugar bean, after which we'll look at the variety selection tips. Then we'll look at some types of bean that are available on the market before we look at the agronomic practices, which is the glue that is going to cement the good genetics as well as the farmers' expectations and potential from that crop that will have been established. So just to look at the essential elements in agriculture, genetics play a pivotal role in us getting the desired traits or attributes and the desired yield level for us to say we are now taking farming as a formidable business. We then look at the soil. The soil is the main growing media for most of our crops here in Zimbabwe. So the soil needs to be nurtured for it to be able to avail the necessary nutrients, the necessary growing environment, as well as the necessary moisture for our crops to grow optimally. Then we look at the weather. Suffice to say that we have had a lot of learnings and take-homes from the climate change unforeseen vagaries that we have been experiencing over the years, that include a late start to the season, prolonged mid-season dry spells, droughts, floods, all that. So we need to be well versed with the fact that climate change is real, so we need to also understand the dynamics that come with it. Then we look at issues to do with management. Suffice to say that management also plays an important role, whereby a farmer's footprint, a farmer's presence, and a farmer's contribution to the crop is going to make a difference between two farmers getting exactly the same implements, the same inputs, as well as the same time of planting under the same environment, getting different results. One might get less than a ton, while the other can get 2.5 tons. Where is the difference? It boils down to the management level. So there are 1,000 reasons for low yields, but there are 2 reasons for us to be successful in our farming enterprises: choosing the right genetics and coupling that with good agronomic practices. So why sugar beans? Sugar beans is a valuable source of protein, with 15 to 25% of the sugar bean being protein. This is important because you find that nowadays, particularly considering that we are in January, the month that comes after the festive season, most of us are tasked with trying to balance our diets, balance our meals with something that gives nutritional value. And beans is available to give us the protein that we might not then get from the meat because of other reasons. So protein is readily available in sugar beans. Also, we find that sugar beans, it has the tendency to enhance soil fertility through nitrogen fixation. So this is another benefit for us, particularly if you are then going to incorporate the residue of the sugar bean crop after you have harvested. Then it's a good rotation crop because it also breaks pest cycles. Yes, in Zimbabwe, cereal crops are the major and dominant crop that we grow, but we also find that growing other crops breaks problematic insect pests, diseases, and weeds that might otherwise be a challenge to control in that particular crop. Then to top it off, as we have been highlighting, hinting that farming is a formidable business, sugar bean is quite profitable depending on the time you produce your sugar bean, the cost structure, as well as where you're going to sell your sugar bean. And I'm happy today that Junior is here. She's also going to then unpack all those areas to do with marketing, to do with the profitability of the business. So this webinar is packed with some expertise that are going to add value. So in terms of variety selection, what do we really look at as farmers? When we are talking about variety selection, particularly dryland production or small-scale production, as is the topic for today, you also need to understand issues to do with the amount of rainfall that is going to be received, guided by the seasonal forecast, but also bearing in mind that the seasonal forecast may also be affected by issues to do with the changes that come because of climate change, and it might not be exactly on point. The length of the season, the altitude and air temperature. Here we are talking about the altitude and air temperature having the potential to affect the days to maturity of any crop. Take, for example, a sugar bean crop established in Masvingo, in the low veld area there. It will mature much earlier there because of the heat units that are experienced. But that same variety established in Nyanga, established here in the Mashonaland province, in the watershed area, it will take slightly longer because of the lower heat units experienced in that area. Then you find that soil fertility, fertilizer management is also important, though it should be guided principally by soil analysis, but this is also important. You need to be guided accordingly. You need to bear in mind that sugar bean is a crop that is also grown in a wide range of soil types. Planting dates are important, where, as we have heard, that today's webinar is well timed because we are talking about a crop that can be established at this time. We used to say you can establish your sugar bean crop from January right through until mid-February. The challenge now is the seasons that we are getting that are a bit unpredictable. So you'd rather go in with your sugar bean crop in January so that you get to lengthen the period in which that crop is going to be getting water, particularly if it's a rain-fed crop 100%. So we are also seeing that the persistent or incessant rains that we are receiving might be a hindrance in the establishment of sugar bean, whereby the fact that we used to establish sugar bean in January was because in the December months, we used to get heavy rains. So in January, we were then saying the rains have subdued a bit, so you could plant. But now we are seeing that the rains are heavy. So that might affect a bit the establishment of sugar bean because it's a poor germinator, it being a legume and undergoing epidial germination. Then we also look at issues to do with occurrence of diseases, rotation plan, as well as management. So when you're selecting sugar bean varieties, what are the attributes that you should look at? You need to understand the yield potential. It's a business. So in business, you need to optimize. You need to get that one thing that's going to make you a cut above the rest. So the yield potential is very important. The market preference, where you are seeing that this lady there is holding a wide range of bean types that are available. If you are going to grow the yellow bean here in Zimbabwe, you might not get a market for it. But if you grow it in Malawi, if you grow it in the Eastern African countries, that is the one that they prefer. So you need to understand the preference that is is there on the market. The harvestability is going to affect the scale of production, but today it's safe to say that we are mostly going to be hand harvesting with our small scale farmers, though we do have some small scale farmers who are taking farming to another level and becoming a bit commercial. So you can also choose varieties that can be harvested using machinery. The growth habit is also important. Is it a determinate variety? Is it an indeterminate variety? Which one is going to increase your chances of mitigation during periods of dry spells? Soil and climate conditions, disease tolerance is also important, as well as the rotation plan, whereby if you are then going to come in with a crop that you want, maybe you want to put your green mealy crop soon after you've harvested your sugar beet. There are some sugar bean varieties that do 65 days, 70 days, depending on where you are, the altitude that we were speaking about, but you need to be guided accordingly by your rotation plan. And the high quality certified seed is recommended. We need to move away from the principle whereby we are just buying seed from different markets without mentioning any names. For us to then go and produce, we do not know the generations that that crop has had. That will then affect our return per dollar invested. Then we look at the sugar bean profit story. The sugar bean profit story is a beautiful one indeed, whereby you need to aim to get at least 2 to 3 tons per hectare. And yes, there are now varieties that can reach the 3-ton mark with no challenges. The variable costs will range between 1,000 to 1,200, 1,300 give or take, depending on your cost structure and what you're going to be putting into your bean crop. But for commercial farmers, we are seeing that the cost of production has gone up a bit in the previous years compared to other seasons. But for small-scale production, depending on what you're going to be putting in to your crop, then your cost might range between 800, 1,000, give or take. But we are going to get more details as we speak to other presenters that we have been told are going to present later. The price per ton can range between 1,100 to 1,300. Then the return can be between $1.50 to $2.50. Some can get even $3. It depends on the market that you will be selling to. So it would be beautiful for you to walk this sugar bean journey with us, whereby you're establishing your crop. Then we are smiling at the end of the season when you have had a bumper harvest. So the bean types. There are different types of sugar bean that are available. As you can see, there's black bean. Imagine consuming black bean. I personally prefer the other types. The black one, we are not there yet. But there are also navy bean varieties, light red kidney beans. You are seeing there some great northern beans. You are getting white kidney beans and the red speckled or the speckled bean varieties that we have. So there's a wide range of choices. This is just a smaller list, but the list is not exhaustive. So for SeedCo, we have a wide range of varieties, like you have rightfully heard from our other different platforms. Sugar bean varieties that we have at SeedCo, we have SC Bounty, or SC Sharp, we have SC Gadra, we have SC Ukulinga, SC Caledon, Nua 45. We also have bonus as well in our product portfolio. So we have a wide range of varieties that you can choose from. Suffice to say that SeedCo is the one-stop shop for all your seed choices and your seed purchases. There you are seeing that the list is quite long, and the options are there in terms of the days to maturity, the type, the preferred type on the market, as well as the yield potential that you are going to get. So just to get into a bit of detail of the varieties, there we are seeing that the variety that we have there is a purple speckled variety. It is medium in size in terms of the size of the grain, and is an ultra early maturing variety. So this is suitable for combine harvesting, and it can be grown in a wide range of environments, including the low veld area. Then we also have another variety that we have there. There we are seeing that this one is red speckled. Then it's a determinate and upright variety. It can be harvested as well using a combine, and it is large grain. So this one now, if you are intending to get large grain sized bean, this is the variety of choice to mature in around 85 to 95 days, which makes it a medium maturing variety. But then it will depend on the heat units that are experienced at that time. Then we have the navy bean or Michigan pea bean, which is a small white bean type. If you're going to produce this bean, you need to have a ready market for it, because it's not the type of bean that you produce and then you approach a boarding school or a hospital and try to sell. It has its market where it goes to. So you need to make sure that you understand the market dynamics and where you are going to sell it before you produce it. Otherwise, it's a very good variety. It will reach around 3 tons per hectare. It's a canning type and it will mature in around 85 days, 70 to 85 days, depending on where you will have established it. Then we also have our sugar types, the ones that we have been having for a while on the markets. We have these varieties giving us around 2.5 tons per hectare. They are stable across environments. SC Bounty is the one that we have in stock, and these varieties are also going to mature in around 65 to 75 days. Then in terms of good agronomic practices, common as the word has become, we need to understand that it encompasses a wide range of things that include soil management, fertility, weed, insect pests, diseases, herbicide management, as well as the rotation plan, amongst other factors where even land preparation comes into play. So good agronomic practices really need to be taken into account, and we need not to take any shortcuts so that we get the desired outcome. So the general conditions that sugar bean requires: beans are sensitive to excessive temperatures. So you need to, if temperatures are above 30, they also are sensitive, a lack of or too much rainfall, like we've alluded to earlier on. They are adapted to a wide range of soils with a pH of 5.3 to 6.5. Then it prefers soils with a clay content above 20%, which is to say clay content is important. So clay soils, clay loam soils will be an advantage. Then in terms of land preparation, deep plowing is recommended to aid in the drainage and root penetration, so that it's especially root penetration. But you can still do your minimum tillage, where now if you have if you have the equipment, you can come in with specialized equipment. But for small scale production, if you're going to open your furrows in between your rows in a bid for you to adopt conservation, it's still also good, but you need to make sure that the furrow that has been opened is deep enough to allow for good root penetration, so that when there's nitrogen fixation, it occurs optimally. Irrigate when you're planting, particularly if you're planting outside of the rainfall season, you have to irrigate to a depth of around 60 centimeters. Then when you plant sugar beans on during the rains, it's recommended that you plant on raised platforms a bit, so that there's drainage and you guard against waterlogging conditions. A fine tilth. Why do we desire a fine tilth? Be it under conservation, the area that you have disturbed needs to have a fine tilth. If it's conventional, you need to have a fine tilth in your field, so that the process of FPGA germination occurs optimally, whereby when sugar bean is germinating, it brings out this neck area first, which is very delicate to dry soils or crusting. So you need to make sure that that is understood and on point. As we move towards winding up in the interest of time, the planting dates is highlighted. Usually you can plant, this is for the middle veld and the low veld area, but if you're going to be planting in the high veld areas as well as the watershed areas, you can plant from now, January, until end of January. I'm hesitant to say February, but you can still plant until February. But you need to be guided by an understanding of the season. With sugar bean, it's best for you to plant early. If you want to plant now in January, it gives you rest and a bit of comfort, knowing that if the season tails off early March or mid-March, at least your crop will be at an advanced stage for you to talk about profitability. The seed rate is 100 to 120 kgs per hectare. You need to make sure that the seed is treated with a seed dressing, as highlighted there. The list is not exhaustive. You can get other products. You can also inoculate sugar bean. The important thing to note is that if you are inoculating, the rhizobium bacteria strain that works for soybean is not the same as the one that works for sugar bean. So you need to be specific on purchasing rhizobium, because if you're going to get the one for soybean, it will not work for sugar bean. And your handling for rhizobium needs to be on point. Cool conditions, planting, don't put on fertilizer, so that it's a living organism. So you want it also to then do its work when the time comes. So when you're also planting, there is the planting depth, the planting process. When you're hand planting, which is the topic of today, you are seeing there that they've opened their furrows on top of a raised platform. They'll be putting 2 or 3 rows, depending on the size of the raised bed that they've done, and then also that helps on drainage. Then on basal fertilizer, you find that they recommended you can use your compound D at 200, 300 kgs per hectare. Then you can use also the specialized fertilizers, but you need to be guided by soil analysis when doing fertilizer management, or the soil type if time doesn't permit, but soil analysis is the way to go. Then for top dressing, yes, legumes are going to fix, but you are in business, you want to optimize, either you're going to come in with AN or efficient use of rhizobium. If rhizobium works well, you might not need the AN. Then those are just some recommendations on how to apply. You need to achieve the ideal condition there, not the scenario that we are seeing on the right side there, whereby we are failing to even identify if there is a crop or not. So that is also something that you need to look at. So weeds compete with crops for nutrients, moisture, growing space, and the harbor insect space. So you also need to manage against them. Effective weed management is guided by crop type. You need to understand the weed spectrum, rotation plan, the climatic conditions, and cost. One thing that you need to take note of is the fact that yes, sugar bean and soya bean are both legumes, but in terms of herbicides, there are some herbicides that will work in soya and will not work in sugar bean. Rather, they will destroy the whole sugar bean crop. So you need to approach agrochemical specialists for more information on that. And I'm happy for Agro is here. They'll give us some indications of some good products to use. So that is the weed management. You need to come in with some options there, but you're going to get more options as we discuss further. Insect pest management, just to highlight the bean stem maggot, a key problematic insect pest in any crop. You need to understand its key problems. Bean stem maggot is sugar bean's key problem. Within the first month, it needs to be managed. So you need to understand, and I think Agro is going to touch on that. So effective insect pest management, there are a wide range of insect pests, but you need to scout regularly. Don't scout just the edges of the field. Do a systematic scouting method so that you are able to see if there are any challenges before they go out of hand and before the economic threshold level has been reached. On disease management, if you buy certified seeds, you are able to also then safeguard yourself against problematic, some of the diseases that are available, but there are some bacterial diseases that might be problematic. You need also to then also practice some hygiene and other practices that are also going to safeguard. But for rust, there are some chemicals which are also going to be highlighted later on. So sugar bean, in conclusion, it's a crop in season. It's a healthy crop. Sugar bean improves the soil structure, and sugar bean is very profitable. So you need to understand that it starts with the right seed, then you couple that with your good agronomic practices. And SeedCo is a variety for every farmer and every cropping program. So just to highlight the varieties again, I'm sure we'll be able to share the presentation once it's done, the recording of the presentation. And in conclusion, I want to conclude by quoting the words of Agronomic Adesina, who said, the next set of billionaires in Africa will be farmers. So who doesn't want to be a billionaire? Let's jump onto the bandwagon. Let's grow crops that are in season. But let's remember that as much as we are essential for as long as we are alive. So we need to adhere to COVID-19 regulations. On that note, I would like to say thank you for allowing me to present this timely crop at this timely occasion. Thank you.
What a great presentation. Thank you very much, Wendy, Madzura. Indeed, sugar bean production is a profitable venture and can be done even at small scale. Thank you once again, Wendy, for that great presentation. One of the key pillars in cropping is maintaining good soil and crop health. Tapiwa Chitendera from Fossil Agro will help us on this important issue. Tapiwa, you can go for it.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, our presenter. It's such an honor to be presenting on crop health and soil health in sugar bean production, which is a crop in season right now. And thank you, Miss Wendy Madzura, for the wonderful presentation that you shared. Without wasting much of your time, I will go straight into my presentation. So to kick off the discussion, I'm going to focus on why we should be growing sugar beans at this point in time. Sugar beans are an affordable source of protein. Even if you're on a vegetarian diet, you can also eat your sugar beans and not eat meat and still get a good protein content from sugar beans. They are an efficient user of residual fertilizers in our soils, And like what Wendy highlighted earlier on, they fix nitrogen into the soil, since they are a legume crop and they produce nodules, which then fix nitrogen into the soil, and which promotes soil fertility, and hence allows other crops that you are going to grow in the next season to benefit from the nitrogen fixed in the soil. Currently, sugar bean is selling at a very lucrative price, with a minimum price of $24 for a 20 kg bucket and a maximum price of $26 for a 20 kg bucket. This is according to Mbare Musika commodity prices as of the 10th of January this year, 2022. On land preparation, it is critical for farmers to thoroughly prepare their soils to a fine tilt. This is due to the fact that it helps to improve water infiltration into the soil. It also helps the soil seed contact, which will result in good germination and will reduce weed infestation. As for Agro, we are very particular about farmers keeping smart fields, because when your fields are smart, it then gives a good head start to your crops and reduces competition of weeds with your crop. Sugar bean is not also a good germinator, like highlighted earlier on. It has got the epidue type of germination. The seed coat is the one that develops, and then so farmers will then encourage you to allow a fine tilt to the soil, so that this process of germination is not affected, and it allows the sugar bean crop to develop without any challenges. So you should ensure that the soil tilt is fine. Also, the soil is also moist to allow ease of germination of the crop. Sugar beans may be grown on a wide range of soil types. It normally prefers a clay content which is above 15%. They're also very sensitive to the soil pH status. Hence, we encourage our farmers to send their soil samples for analysis to reputable soil analysis research centers, such as the DR&SS, which has got a department which specializes in analyzing your soil samples. So it is critical that farmers send their soils for analysis, so that they have an appreciation of the nutrient status of their soils. If the soil pH is low, which is meaning that it is around at 5.3, we encourage farmers to lime their soils with the different types of limes that are available on the market. They are also, sugar beans are also an efficient user of residual fertilizers that might be in the soil. They can also, for our small scale farmers, they can also make use of the cow dung manure to use as a nutrient enhancer to the soil. Basal fertilizers, such as your compound D, can be applied at an application rate of 200 to 300 kgs per hectare. For a top dressing, you can come in with your ammonium nitrate fertilizers at an application rate of 150 to 200 kg per hectare. Farmers should note that they should not over-apply their ammonium nitrate to the soil, as this can cause a ranky growth. When we talk about ranky growth of the crop, we are talking about overgrowing of the leaves, too much vegetative growth, which would then direct all the food nutrients towards the vegetative growth, when we want our growth to be focused on pod development, where our yields are then going to be coming from. As the sugar bean crop starts to flower, we can come in also with your best bloom fertilizers, which you can apply at 2 kg per hectare, and then you can then repeatedly apply 2 to 3 times on weekly intervals to your crop. Weed management. So on weed management, like I highlighted earlier on, as Fossil Agro, we've specialized in production of agrochemicals, such as your pesticides, your herbicides, and your insecticides. We are saying farmers, not all pesticides are suitable for every other crop. Herbicides, pesticides, and insecticides are specific to the crop that which you are growing. So in terms of weed management, we encourage farmers to clear their land thoroughly using your products such as your glyphosate. Remember, farmers, glyphosate is a non-selective herbicide. It wipes out all actively growing weeds on the crop. Hence, it is important to apply the herbicide before the planting of the crop so that you clear your field and give a good head start to your crop, and it will start the growing process without any competition from the weeds. For pre-emergent herbicide, we have got your S-metolachlor, we have got your metolachlor. But here at Agro, we have got another product which we are very proud of, which is called your Formula One. Formula One is a product that contains S-metolachlor and flumentulam. This is a pre-emergent herbicide that will apply soon after planting. If it is delayed applied, it can be applied within a period of 3 days after applying, after planting your crop. Farmers, we are also encouraging you to apply this herbicide when your soils are moist so that there is maximum utilization of the herbicide, and it also creates a layer on top of the soil so that when the weed seeds start to germinate, they can be inhibited to develop, and then they can be stopped from further development by this powerful herbicide, Formula One. And it controls both broad and grass weed seeds, which will be buried in the soils. For our post-emergent herbicides, in the controlling of grasses, we have got fluazepop, which is the herbicide which controls your annual grasses, such as your shamba grass. We also have your bentazone. Bentazone is mostly used to control broadleaf weeds as well as sedges in your sugar bean crop. Application rate of bentazone is 3 liters per hectare, and the application rate of fluazepop is 1 liter per hectare. It is also critical for our farmers to timeously visit their crops and scout for problem pests that affect their sugar bean crops. Pests should be identified on time. Why? Because we have got pests such as the Semara beetle. They eat on our flowers, and when we do not have flowers on our sugar bean crop, it means that we're not going to be having a pod development. And at the end of the day, it then speaks directly to the yield component of your crop. So it is critical for farmers to regularly scout their field for problem pests, as they also transmit diseases. They also cause direct injuries to the crop. A problem pest to note in sugar bean production is the bean stem maggot. The bean stem maggot larva flies from the leaf down into the stem, causing the stem near the soil to swell and crack and eventually break. So it is critical for farmers to regularly come in with an insecticide known as diazinon. Diazinon can be applied at 3, 6, 13, and 20 days after crop emergence as a preventative control to the bean stem maggot, and also as a curative control to this problematic pest in beans. Farmers, be alert and on guard for the bean stem maggot, as this can cause detrimental yield losses to your crop if it is not timeously controlled. Other problem pests that farmers need to look out for are the aphids, the chafer beetles, the sting bugs, and the bollworms. Here are some pictorial diagrams of problem pests that you should note. I'm really excited because this particular weed pest, we actually identified it in one farm that we visited recently, 2 days ago in Gurube district, Madzura. We actually noticed this problem pest, the beetle, and we actually encouraged the farmer there and then to come in with their covering to control these type of beetles. This is in the middle diagram is showing the bean stem maggot affecting the stem area of the bean crop. Then the last picture is showing us red spider mites, which can also come into your sugar bean crop, and they need to be controlled timeously. So to control this problem pest, here at Agro, we've got a wide basket of insecticides that we have that also control this problem pest. I'm across some of these products. We have got one of our flagship products, Nemesis, which is a combination of acetamiprid and emamectin benzoate. It is a broad spectrum insecticide and acaricide controlling these problem pests that have been highlighted earlier on, such as your aphids, which affects your sugar bean crop. We also have your phosphorus, which is a combination of ivermectin and acetamiprid. It's also a broad spectrum insecticide and acaricide, which helps to control your red spider mites. We are also excited about these two products because they're not only confined to the sugar bean crop, but you can also use them to control other problem pests in your crops, such as your maize. Your Nemesis controls your fall armyworm, and you can also use your phosphorus to control the notorious tuta absoluta in your tomato crop. Moving on to disease management in sugar bean crop, we have got the bean rust. It initially shows off itself as small yellow-white lesion spots on all the leaves. This then later enlarge and become reddish and brown. The bean rust is the for the Shona term, it's the mukura. The same mukura yet on metal is that which we also notice on our sugar bean crop. There are other diseases. There are also other diseases of economic importance that farmers should also watch out for, such as your angular leaf spot, your common blight, your bean common mosaic virus. And there are a number of ways that can be used to control these problematic pests, these problematic diseases in your crop. We encourage our farmers to use clean seeds from reputable seed houses, to practice good crop hygiene, and also practice crop rotation, as this is critical in controlling these diseases. Also, farmers, you should avoid walking through wet crops, as you can easily transmit these diseases in your field crops. So here are some important problem diseases to note. We've got your leaf rust. This is the brown lesions that I was talking about of the rust. This is also the yellow blight, which forms concentric rings around the sugar bean leaf crop. So there are a number of fungicides that can be used to control fungal diseases that are a menace in your sugar bean crop. There are preventative fungicides. These should be applied religiously in your sugar bean crop on a weekly intervals. There's your copper oxychloride. There's also your mancozeb, which is also commonly known by farmers as Dithen M45. Then for our curative fungicides, which you then apply to control the disease in the field once it has been noticed. We have got your tebuconazole. There's also your tridimenol, which is also known as your Shavit, your chlorothalonil, which is also known as your Bravo. We encourage farmers to follow the application rates that are indicated on the labels of the product. At Agro, we also have one of our flagship products, which is called Zabalaxil. Zabalaxil is a combination of mancozeb and metalaxil, and it has got both preventative and curative control to some of the diseases that we have mentioned earlier on, such as your blights, which are a problem disease in your sugar bean crop. So as I wrap up my presentation, I would like to encourage our farmers to use an integrated approach in managing their sugar beet field crops. Farmers should employ good cropping strategies when managing their crop, because this will help to properly grow your crop and realize good yields in your crop. You can come in with your mulch. Mulching helps to suppress and lower weed development, and it also helps conserve soil moisture in your crops, especially for our farmers who are also doing on a small scale, on a 1 hectare. It is encouraged to come in with your mulch, so that also your cost on procurement of your herbicides is also reduced, as weeds are also suppressed as you mulch your crops. We also encourage our farmers to buy fertilizers from reputable fertilizer manufacturers, and also apply the correct application rates. And I cannot overemphasize the issue of pest management and weed management in your field crop. Farmers, you should be friends with your crops. You should regularly visit your crops and scout for diseases and scout for problem pests in your fields. Because if you do not timeously monitor and identify this problem pests, by the time that should then come through, your crop would already be ravaged. Like the CMR beetle, it would have wiped out all the flowers from your sugar bean crop, and at the end of the day, you will not realize the expected yield potential of the sugar bean variety that you would have grown. So these are the critical steps that you should always follow in your crop protection program. Make sure that you always prevent diseases from coming into your field crops. Make sure that you always prevent problem pests from ravaging your crops. Consistently go into your field and monitor for problem pests and diseases before it's too late. And always come in at the right time with the correct herbicide, insecticide, and fungicide to control these problem pests and diseases in your field crops. So as I wrap up my presentation, I would love to also touch a little bit on the issue of safe use of chemicals. Yes, chemicals bring ease in the managing of pests, diseases, and insects into our field, but we should also be of good diligence in use and handling of these chemical pesticides, as they can affect our health. So we should always wear protective clothing, your overalls, your goggles, your gloves, and your gumboots when you're handling and using these chemical pesticides. Make sure you wash your hands thoroughly after using your chemical pesticides. And the other key thing that farmers should also note, not all pesticides fit in all crops. Make sure that you use pesticides that are prescribed for that particular crop. An example I will give, you cannot use atrazine in a sugar bean crop because atrazine controls broadleaf weeds. So if you use an atrazine in your sugar bean crop, it means you're going to wipe out your sugar bean since it's a broadleaf crop. Therefore, make sure that you use the right herbicide, the right insecticide, and the right fungicide, which is specific to the particular crop that you are currently growing. You should also read and follow instructions which are on your labels. If there is any clarity, further clarity that is needed, we encourage you farmers to contact us, your agronomist or your agro dealers, for further assistance, even on application rates of your pesticides, to avoid over applying and wastage of pesticides. We should also practice integrity in handling and using of these pesticides. There are always pre-harvest intervals that are labeled, that are highlighted on the pesticide labels. We should be diligent enough to follow those pre-harvest intervals so that we harvest our crops at the right time when they are safe to be consumed by the end user. With this, I would like to say thank you, Varimiredu, Varipakatipedu, and I would love to leave you with a quote from Benjamin Franklin, which says, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. Therefore, farmers, plan for your sugar bean production crops so that you realize good yield at the end of the season. For Agro, smart farming, hakuna matata, munda wakachena. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Tapiwa, for the great presentation. You really touched on real issues there. You know, a healthy soil and a healthy crop will result in more profit. You also emphasized on soil testing or soil analysis, which is key in determining your soil nutrition requirements. Whilst the sugar bean production can be very profitable, the basics have to be done right and they never take shortcuts. Thanks again, Tapiwa, for such a wonderful presentation. I've seen a lot of farmers stuck with produce that is after harvesting, and sadly, they sell their produce, they end up selling their produce at very low prices, and usually this is below their break-even point, resulting in losses. How can this be avoided in sugar bean? Junior Manduna from the Agricultural Marketing Authority will help us understand more about the sugar bean market. Junior, please go for it.
Good morning, Roland. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, our farmers. Thank you very much. Allow me to share my screen. Okay, can you all see my screen now?
Sure, please go ahead.
All right, thank you. All right, my name is Junior Manduna. I'm with the Agricultural Marketing Authority. I'm going to take you through sugar bean marketing in Zimbabwe. Firstly, I would like to unpack the Agricultural Marketing Authority. Some of you might not be aware who Agricultural Marketing Authority is, or might have a misconception of who Agricultural Marketing Authority is. So I'll give a brief of who the Agricultural Marketing Authority is. All right, so the Agricultural Marketing Authority is a parastatal, a statutory body established in terms of the Agricultural Marketing Act under the purview of the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water, and Rural Development, with a vision of having a sustainable and prosperous agricultural sector as driven by effective marketing regulatory services by 2030. Our mission is to provide a conducive regulatory environment for sustainable marketing and production of agricultural products. We started with marketing and then production of agricultural products because we are saying our production as a nation should be hinged on okay, so I was saying the Agricultural Marketing Authority is a statutory body established in terms of the Agricultural Marketing Act, and it's under the purview of the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water, and Rural Development. And we are on a mission to provide a conducive regulatory environment for sustainable marketing and production of agricultural products. We talk about marketing before production because we are saying it is the marketing which is then supposed to inform production or inform what happens with the production sector. So I was saying we appreciate the fact that sugar bean is of high protein nutrition value and is really a good substitute for meat. Therefore, it is a very important crop within the diet of all Zimbabweans. It's a common relish in the Zimbabwean diet, which can easily be stored, making it a useful crop it's a leguminous grain which is easily storable, making it a useful crop for substitute use. This is a highly lucrative crop with potential to enhance household incomes for our farmers, employment creation, as well as potential export earnings. For our role as the Agricultural Marketing Authority in sugar bean marketing is really hinged on the AMA Act, which empowers us to register all value chain players. That includes the farmers, the input suppliers, the buyers, the traders, as well as the processors. And we also require them from time to time to furnish the authority with the returns so that this information can then be used for statistical and planning purposes as we play our role, the advisory role as the Agricultural Marketing Authority. What have been some of the marketing trends? Okay, you'll find that in the sugar bean value chain, we've got a number of value chain players, which include the producers, both the commercial and the smallholder farmers. We also have the traders who are our importers and our exporters. We've got the processors who do a lot of bulking, a lot of cleaning, sorting, grading, as well as packing and distributing. We've got the distributors as part of the value chain players who are our wholesalers and retailers. Then we've got the consumers who are you and me, who are also the boarding schools. We've got colleges, universities. I'm talking about who consumes this because I want to show this platform the appetite for sugar bean in Zimbabwe. It's a sugar bean is a non-government controlled commodity, and as such it can be sold to any market. And the pricing is really determined by the marketing forces. The crop is normally marketed on the open market, to supermarkets, to even through contract farming schemes. In Zimbabwe, it's estimated that our national demand for sugar bean stands at around 105,000 metric tons, yet we are producing within the region of around 32,000 to 35,000 metric tons. So from this, we can see that there's a lot of potential of expansion for those who are willing to venture into sugar bean production, because really, as a nation, we are unable to meet our own requirements. And there is also potential for exporting this lucrative commodity even into the region and onto the international market. So you'll find that sugar bean in Zimbabwe is normally marketed around during the winter season. And the beans are accepted into the market when they reach a maximum moisture content of between 9 and 11%. And really, the grading system which is in place at the moment is we've got 2 grades of sugar bean, which is grade A and grade B. The specifications for these grades and standards are found on SI 140 of 2013, page 1096. And when we look at the sugar bean marketing, the prices for the pricing trends or the producer price trends from around 2015 to 2020, it has really hovered between 1,000 US and 1,500 metric tons, 1,000 and 1,500 metric tons per metric ton. So to us, we are saying this is a very lucrative value chain. When we follow all the guidelines, the guidelines is given the market. There's a huge market out there, locally and externally, for the sugar beans. And as the Agricultural Marketing Authority, what we've been doing in the last season, and we are also doing, and we are going to be doing this season, is that we consolidating or putting the sugar beans farmers into clusters so that we can assure them of a market. We engage as part of our job to create market linkages. We engage potential off-takers so that they can, these farmers have a guaranteed market, and also they've got fair pricing for their commodity, instead of them just having to offload their sugar beans to the middlemen who usually offer them very low prices compared to the value of their crop. So we are encouraging all farmers to come together into what we are calling production and marketing clusters. They get hold of our field staff in the different provinces so that they are registered, so that they register their clusters and give us indications to say we've got so much area under sugar beans, and we are expecting that it will be ready for market during this month, and we've got so much tonnage, so that it becomes easier for the Agricultural Marketing Authority to then link these farmers to bona fide buyers who give these farmers a fair price. I think that is all from this end as far as the marketing of sugar beans is concerned. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Junior, for that great presentation. We really appreciate you know, farmers, it's really important to do a proper market research and engage the Agricultural Marketing Authority and other key stakeholders before you engage in production, because our production should really be market driven to avoid incidences where you end up being stuck with produce that you will then sell below your break even and make losses. So thank you very much, Junior, for such a wonderful and great presentation. We really appreciate. This leaves us in the question and answer session. And if you have any question or comment, kindly share in the chat section or comment section on Facebook. So the questions that we have here, this one is from Tunga. Tunga says, thank you for the presentations. Due to the changes that we're experiencing in terms of rainfall and other climatic factors, are there any changes in the planting times as there is more rainfall expected in January and February? I don't know if Tapiwa, are you able to take that one?
Okay, thank you for the question. Planting dates are guided also by the rainfall patterns, like the farmer has highlighted. Yes, they can still plant, but they should they should have a plan maybe of supplementing with irrigation to be on the safe side on the issue of planting dates.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Tapiwa, for taking that one. Sure. Thanks very much for taking that one. Yeah, sure. Then another one is for Junior. The farmer is asking, how best can we get hold of Agricultural Marketing Authority, and do you offer information such as the market prices and market demand and supply information?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for that. Yes, we do have, on a weekly basis, we are circulating a commodity bulletin, which is showing the prices for different commodities, including sugar beans. And within our within our different provinces, we have field officers that are in charge. If you don't mind, maybe you could link up after this on my either my email or cell phone. Then I will extend a whole schedule of contact details for the different field officers in the different provinces. I could either do that through you, Roland, or they could link up as individuals.
Yeah, sure, not a problem. We'll share the farmer's contact with you immediately after the webinar. Thanks very much for taking that one, Junior. And whilst you are still there, there's another one. It's saying here, how best can the youth in farming benefit from the Agricultural Marketing Authority, given that we are still establishing ourselves and need more assistance when it comes to marketing our farm produce? Can we get a direct line in different provinces? I mean, Bulawayo. Okay, so maybe they're asking for your contact, for your Bulawayo contact details.
Okay, that will be shared as well.
Okay.
But maybe for the purposes of others who are on this platform, you can get hold of me on 0773 100 246 and send in probably just send in either a text or a WhatsApp to say I require such kind of information. Then I'll direct you to the rightful field officer. Otherwise, as the Agricultural Marketing Authority, we are ready to assist farmers, especially smallholder farmers, especially those in irrigation schemes. If you were listening, that's why I spoke about getting ourselves organized into small clusters, into production clusters, so that we know we've got these farmers and we also request information, and we are willing to assist and help in any way in terms of statistics, in terms of assisting you to be linked to markets. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Junior. Then another question here is from Chipo. I think Tapiwa, you can take this one. It's so do we use a water only for the herbicide or also for the pesticide or also for the pesticide to make it more effective when it's raining?
Yes, you can use a wetter as it helps to improve efficiency of the pesticide, either your insecticide or your fungicide, and it helps the pesticide to stick for a longer period onto the crop, especially with this with these continuous rains that we are having. We also encourage farmers to monitor the rainfall patterns and avoid spraying while it's raining, as this causes washing off of the pesticide from the crop and reduces efficacy of the crop. So a holding period of about 6 hours is needed before it rains, so that the herbicide can penetrate into the leaves of the weeds and control the weeds, or the insecticide can come into contact with the pests and control the insect pests.
All right, thanks, Tapiwa. Then I see more requests for Junior's contact details. Junior, maybe if you can share your phone number or that of the Agricultural Marketing Authority once more.
Okay, I'm on 0773 100 246 or email jmanduna@ama.co.zw. I've also shared in the chat box.
All right, perfect. Thanks very much, Junior. So thank you very much, our presenters, and thank you very much, our farmers. This marks the end of our masterclass. And as you have seen, sugar bean is a very lucrative crop, and the advantage is you can start small. We would like to thank SeedCo, the Agricultural Marketing Authority, and Fossil Agro, and our presenters, Wendy, Madzura, Junior Manduna, and Tapiwa for the great presentations. So to our participants, thank you very much for attending and for participating. We do hope that you have benefited from the great presentations that we had. We have posted a link to the Agribusiness Media Facebook page. Please do like and share and join over 120,000 farmers who are following the page. We'll also send an email of the recording of today's webinar. From Agribusiness Media, my name is Rawlings. Enjoy your day. Thank you very much.